A film project like The Matrix was ambitious for its time. A story about the end of the world where machines inherited the Earth, with the added twist of a computer simulation where all humans were living in. It was a risky endeavor for Warner, but one that thankfully paid off. It propelled the careers of Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Lawrence Fishburne, and the Wachowskis, earning them fame and respect. Though the film was a surprise hit at the box office, it wasn't without its hurdles, especially in the casting department. Not many people had faith in the project, thus most actors that were offered a role in the film flat out rejected it. So today we're going to glance over a list of some of the high-profile actors and actresses that rejected The Matrix. Welcome to Matrix Explained. Before we begin, we would like to announce the winner of the Matrix Movies Complete Collection on Blu-ray, Alan Barretta. Congrats, Alan. Be sure to send us an email with your information so we can send out your prize. Thanks to everyone who participated, and enjoy today's video. Will Smith. Fresh out of The Men in Black, The Fresh Prince was at the top of his career. The rapper turned actor had already proven to be a box office draw-in after the massive successes that were Bad Boys, Independence Day, and of course MIB. The Wachowskis loved him as Agent J. Similarities of aesthetics aside, Smith would have been a major gain for the Matrix project. I mean, one of the characters was named Agent Smith after all. The directors immediately offered Smith the role of Neo, but he declined the offer. Some time ago, Will Smith posted a video on social media explaining why he turned down the role.
So after we made Men in Black, the Wachowskis, they came in and it was like they had only done one movie. They did a movie, I think it was called Bound. And they came in and they made a pitch for The Matrix.
And as it turns out, they're geniuses. But there's a fine line in a pitch meeting between genius and what I experienced in the meeting.
Dude, we're thinking like imagine you're in a fight and then you like jump. Imagine if you could stop jumping in the middle of the jump.
Say that again?
But then people could see around you 360 while you're jumping, while you're stopped jumping, right? And then we're gonna invent these cameras and then people can see the whole jump while you stop in the middle of the jump.
In hindsight, The Matrix had to have been a complicated project to pitch, making it difficult to understand. Sadly, Will Smith couldn't comprehend what the Wachowskis wanted to create, and so Smith went on to make his first box office bomb instead. I guess a giant mechanical spider during the Wild West age was easier for him to understand. At least we got a pretty cool theme song and music video out of it. Nicolas Cage. Another A-list actor at the time who rejected the role of Neo. Not much has been said about his reasons for not taking the role. It was just a case of bad timing, as he confirmed in an interview, and I quote, "Many things were happening in my life at the time that prevented me from traveling away from home for 3 years. It was a movie that if the circumstances had allowed it, it would have benefited me a lot. Actually, I have no regrets. The good thing is that now I can watch these movies as just another spectator, because I don't like to watch my own movies. And so I can experience the genuine satisfaction of seeing them." End quote. Brad Pitt's reason on why he rejected the role of Neo is even more brief. In an interview during the Santa Barbara Film Festival, he said the following, and I quote, "I did pass on The Matrix. I took the red pill. That's the only one I'm naming. I wasn't offered 2 or 3, only the first one, just to clarify that." End quote. Val Kilmer turned down the role to play Virgil Adamson in the film At First Sight. The Wachowskis' very first pick for The Matrix, Johnny Depp, also refused to become the integral anomaly. Rejection after rejection, the Wachowskis finally landed on Keanu Reeves, but it still wasn't easy to get him. Before Keanu could even touch the main script, he had to read several books in order to become familiar with the movie's concepts and themes. And after that, the role of Neo was finally casted. Today it's hard to picture anyone else as the one, but Neo wasn't the only character that turned out to be a headache to cast. The role of Morpheus also went through a lengthy casting cycle throughout Hollywood. Samuel L. Jackson, Gary Oldman, and Russell Crowe were just some of the talents who rejected the future iconic role for multiple reasons. being scheduling conflicts or difficulties understanding the plot. The role eventually went to Cowboy Curtis himself, Lawrence Fishburne. Trinity, however, didn't take long to find. It still went through some casting options. Janet Jackson almost signed on to the role, but it didn't work out. Sandra Bullock was offered the role, but it was Carrie-Anne Moss who got it in the end. Funny how she left one Matrix to enter another. Don't know what I'm talking about? Check out our previous video. Agent Smith had an interesting casting choice. French actor Jean Reno was interested in the role, but when it required him to move to Australia for the filming, it was too much of a hassle for him, so the role was given to Hugo Weaving. The director's chair was also uncertain. Warner Brothers was not entirely convinced in the Wachowskis' ability as directors, though in the end, the siblings proved themselves and ended up directing all 3 films. After so many casting setbacks, the movie was finally made and released to massive global success. Many of the actors who passed on the film went on record stating their regrets, though it's hard to fault them for their decisions. The movie did bring some new concepts and filming techniques that were hard to understand at the time. Now let's talk about the sequels. Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions also had their list of rejections. Despite the first film's success, there were many actors and actresses who still passed on the opportunity to be involved in the franchise. Seraph was a particularly problematic role to cast. The first one to say no to the role was actress Michelle Yeoh. The famous martial artist rejected the role because she was too busy with other projects at the time. So Seraph was originally written to be female, but scheduling issues forced a change of plans. Jet Li was offered the role of Seraph, but due to a disagreement in the contract, he was forced to distance himself from the project. He explained this in an interview, and I quote, "It was a commercial struggle for me. I realized the Americans wanted me to film for 3 months, but be with the crew for 9. And for 6 months, they wanted me to record and copy all my moves into a digital library. By the end of the recording, the right to these moves will go to them. I was thinking, I've been training my entire life, and we martial artists could only grow older, yet they could own my moves as an intellectual property forever, so I said I couldn't do that." End quote. In the end, Colin Cho got the role of Seraph, and while he did a great job as the Oracle's bodyguard, it's still interesting to imagine what the character would have been like if it was played by a woman. Most of the greatest films of all time have had their issues, making their success much more gratifying. The Matrix as a franchise may not have been the massive success it could have been, but the original 1999 film went on to become one of the most influential movies in history. Part of its success was undoubtedly the actors. All those rejections paved the way for what is certainly one of the most perfect casting in film history. But do you agree? Could you imagine any other actors playing these iconic roles instead? Is there any characters you would recast? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.